We got some big trade news this week with Davante Adams going from the Raiders to the New York Jets, where he will be reunited with his longtime Packers teammate Aaron Rodgers, and also Alan Lazard. And who knows, maybe even MVS. He was just released by the Bills. Maybe he'll even go sign Randall Cobb out of retirement for one more season. But Aaron Rodgers is definitely not running the team. Remember, he had nothing to do with Robert Saleh being fired last week. On a less sarcastic note, if you look at the past few seasons for Davante Adams, there was a lot going on. From everything you hear, he's just a good dude. Teammates like him, coaches like him, maybe not so much Antonio Pierce, right? Seems like they may have had their differences, but he just seems like a nice guy. And kind of a cool story, being somewhat more lightly recruited out of high school, goes to a non-Power 5 in Fresno State. Second round pick, not a ton of hype around him coming into the NFL. And really, it wasn't until year 3 that he got it going as a pro. But ever since then, the guy has been lights out. Clearly developed the chemistry with Rodgers and has been a top player at the position for the past 7-8 years now. When Davante told the Packers he would not be playing on the franchise tag prior to the 2022 season and then was traded to the Raiders, the landing spot made a lot of sense at the time. Bay Area kid, grew up watching the Raiders, chance to reunite with his good friend and college quarterback Derek Carr, got a huge contract. This was basically the start to the second half of his career. And even from a production standpoint, he just picked up right where he left off. In his final 2 seasons in Green Bay, remember, those were the back-to-back Aaron Rodgers MVP years. Davante averaged basically 120 catches, 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns in those seasons. And then in 2022, his first season in Vegas, catches 100 balls, goes over 1,500 yards, scores 14 touchdowns. I remember thinking early during that season, wow, this is a Raiders move that is paying off immediately, statistically speaking. And that is not like them. That is not typically how it goes for the Raiders. But then you look up and you realize they're 2-6, and you're hearing Josh McDaniels doesn't really like Derek Carr, would prefer he no longer quarterbacks the team. And ultimately, they kicked Derek to the curb late in that season, and they finished 6-11. Then in 2023, they suck again. Jimmy Garoppolo and Aiden O'Connell are the quarterbacks. Josh McDaniels gets canned mid-season. Now, they actually had a decent run down the stretch. They did win 3 of their last 4, including that Christmas Day game at Arrowhead. But they missed the playoffs again. They finish 8-9. And then you come into this season with Antonio Pierce in place as the new head coach following the interim role to finish last year. Gardner Minshew is the quarterback. O'Connell is the backup once again. And neither guy has played well so far. And now you're 2-4. Now technically, Davante only played the first 3 games, but through the first 6 weeks, this sure feels like just another typical Raiders season. They have no chance at the playoffs. The best they can do at this point is just to try not to finish 4th in the division, but they probably will because they're not better than Denver, and Denver is not good. Things change in life all the time. Dynamics change with friends, with your family, significant others, situations at your place of employment, you name it. And for Davante Adams, in essentially 2 calendar years, or maybe you could say 2 years and some change, counting the offseason, he went from, hey, we're moving to Vegas. I'm going to play with my college buddy. I'm going to sign a $120+ million contract. New chapter ahead. And then, not even 1 full season in, the Raiders move on from Carr. They fired the general manager and a coach the next year. And now in 2024, you've got the former interim coach who never was even a coordinator at the NFL level, coaching the team, and just another terrible situation at quarterback. Think about this in terms of Davante Adams' football life going all the way back to college at Fresno State. For 11 straight years, you start with Derek Carr, who, look, while he may not be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, Derek was an elite college football player. The guy dominated. In the 2 seasons Adams played at Fresno, Derek Carr had over 9,000 yards passing, and he threw for 87 touchdowns. Power 5 or not, that's some serious production. So Derek Carr to Aaron Rodgers when he gets drafted to Green Bay, then back to Derek Carr, and then Jarrett Stidham, Jimmy Garoppolo, Aiden O'Connell, and Gardner Minshew. That is quite the drop-off, to put it lightly. So if you're Davante, they get rid of the guy you went there to team up with in the first place. And the quarterback position has been awful for the past year and a half, and the team has done nothing but lose. Hell yes, I want out of there. Now, I will say this, because I want it to work out for Davante, because he seems like a really nice guy, and I also think it would add some juice to this season and the storylines if he and Rodgers can get this offense going in New York. It is still the Jets. They are also 2-4, and much like the Raiders, the organization has done a lot of losing. This is now the 25th season that Woody Johnson has owned the team. They have made the playoffs 6 times. The last time they made the playoffs was 2011 with Mark Sanchez. They have not had a winning record in a decade. Whatever they work out with the contract restructure, I hope for Davante Adams' sake that his representatives make it so he has as little of a commitment to the Jets in terms of years as possible. Because the second that Aaron Rodgers decides he's done playing for the Jets, Davante Adams needs to be done playing for the Jets.